All right, Tyler Perry. I guess I could say fans, but I'm reluctant to because, long story short, as you all know, A Fall from Grace dropped January the 17th. And ever since the movie came out, well, hell, if you want to even go back to when the trailer first dropped, just immediate controversy online in regards to look at the wigs. Tyler Perry's at it again, showing a downtrodden black woman who's struggling, and black women being mistreated. And then when the film actually debuted, just the same old story. This stuff doesn't make sense. That stuff doesn't make sense. It's just bad writing. He should take more time. It's just there's been an article that's been given to me in like three different forms. The subject of the article is, has Tyler Perry exploited black women to build his empire? And I've been sent this article. Well, excuse me. I've been sent articles on this subject. There are just so many different outlets that have done articles on the subject and or YouTube videos I've watched at least a dozen YouTube videos over the past 3 days that have been movie reviews from A Fall from Grace, or videos just about like Tyler Perry. No, you need to stop. You need to, from the extra in A Fall from Grace that was eating and drinking air instead of water and food. There was that one scene where, and people were screenshotting this stuff, and it was hilarious. The one scene in the courtroom where I believe it's like the judge. There's a camera angle where you see from behind his seat in the what's it called, the stand? Yes, basically where the judge sits, and you see a copy of the script, and I'm like, oh my god. I don't even know what the title of this video should it just be so straightforward as exploiting black women. Let me just say, I am flattered that people really do come to me with my thoughts and opinions on this, because it shows that you value what I have to say. And to make it clear, if you are new to the channel, or maybe this is your first time clicking on a video because of the title itself, because it's like, oh wow, I've seen so many people dogging Tyler Perry for A Fall from Grace. Now it's time for, let me watch this guy's video. Just know that I am not an employee of Tyler Perry Studios. I have never met Tyler Perry. I have never spoken to Tyler Perry. I am a fan of the Haves and the Have-Nots and a couple of his other shows, and I review them on the channel for a living. It's what I do on YouTube. But just know that when I speak my opinion, it comes from a regular person. I'm a regular person. Again, I just want to stress that. That way people, when you go through the video, you don't go in the comments like, oh man, this dude's biased. Clearly, he's affiliated with Tyler Perry, so he's not going to dog or anything. No, that's not the case at all. Like, if you watch my videos and even on the shows I love, there's a lot that needs to be changed. And when you have over half a dozen shows that you've written for yourself in the past year, yeah. So, not to kind of cop out of answering the question, but I can't really say if Tyler Perry has been exploiting black women to make a living or build his empire, because, well, I'm not a black woman. I guess that's some of the main controversy of Tyler Perry's writing, is the fact that he's giving perspective from black women when he's not a black woman himself. He plays one, aka Madea. Sisters has gotten a lot of backlash because of the fact that there's no writer's room, there's no black women who are helping with the construction of the series. It's just Tyler Perry himself, and the show does suffer from the same flaws as some of his other shows. Bad pacing in the episodes, repetitive dialogue. And if you saw my episode review of last week's episode, the Sisters Circle, you know that I was not a fan at all of that episode, aside from maybe one or two scenes, because for the first time I actually watched an episode at double the playback speed. I hit the maximum speed, which was 2 times. So basically I watched a 41 or 42 minute episode within 20 minutes and did not miss a beat, because I was concerned that playing it that fast, I would, it would just sound like the characters talking like you can't understand a word they're saying, but you literally can. Upping the speed only made the episode more bearable to watch, because I've always known about the long pauses, characters repeating themselves, just staring at another character like, wait, what did you say? And like that is when I watch that double speed, I'm like, yeah, this really shows. And I've always said that Sisters, when it first was announced, I assumed it was going to be a 30-minute show or 22 minutes, while the Oval would be an hour or 42 minutes. So I think I mentioned this in my video I posted a couple days ago. That's I want to say it was received well. I don't want to think about the views, but I just talking about in terms of how people respond in the comment section. It was Tyler Perry responds to not having a writer's room. And there have been some good videos I've seen by other YouTubers who, well, they pretty much are saying the same thing everyone else is in terms of Tyler Perry not giving opportunities and this and that. But some of them do have, well, valid points about certain things that he does, like, building a table but not allowing anyone else to sit there. Let me say this much. I'm not going to sit here and say that Tyler Perry hasn't or isn't giving people opportunities, because I think something that needs to be really reflected on is, even though he doesn't have a writer's room, which honestly I do think he could benefit from one, I can't take away the fact that he's allowing a lot of people who haven't gotten a shot in the industry to have their shot at Tyler Perry Studios, whether it be in one of his shows or movies or whatever. Then, people who built the sets and whatnot, he's, having a lot of diversity at Tyler Perry Studios. So I'm not going to sit here and try to tell this man what he needs to do. Like, you need to do this. You need to put people in that position. That I can't. Who am I to do that? Like I said, I'm a fan like everyone else. I'm just a dude with student debt in my apartment recording videos and making an honest living. That's pretty much what I do. And sell stuff on eBay. And you haven't done so already, there's a link to my eBay store in the description box below. Free shipping on everything. Action figures, trading cards, video games, you name it, it's there. But anyway, I think that my first Tyler Perry experience was watching the play A Madea Family Reunion, or Madea's Family Reunion. This was back in the day when DVDs were the thing. Blu-ray wasn't in existence yet. I don't think so. Anyway, I'm talking like mid to late 2000s. I forgot the exact year, but I know that my first experience with Tyler Perry was definitely through his first few plays that made it to DVD. Of course, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't think I've ever watched Diary of a Mad Black Woman in one sitting. It's almost like, A Christmas Story. I've watched the movie, but I've never watched it consecutively. Like, I'm going to sit down and watch this in one sitting. I've always watched part of it here, part of it there. But yeah, I've watched the entire thing. And I always loved his early work because there was a certain charm to it. The characters felt fleshed out. Sure, there were some inconsistencies here and there, but I think, back in those days, it was kind of understood that not all of the plays were connected. Sure, there were nods to previous characters, maybe from like 2 plays ago, or, Madea has a daughter or a niece or whatever. It's just... It was a play. It was like before he had this expansive universe, if you will, of TV shows and movies. But, I think that as time went on, more and more people felt like, the repetitiveness was there. But regardless of the critics and what reviewers said, he was still making bank at the box office. I mean, Madea movies killed it every time. It was the non-Madea films that kind of, were, iffy. But at the same time, some of the favorites are like A Family That Prays, Daddy's Little Girls. I Can Do Bad All By Myself. I wouldn't say that's in like my top 5 Tyler Perry films, but it was pretty decent for what it was. And then we get on to TBS in terms of House of Pain, Meet the Browns, For Better or Worse. And it's funny because a video I did for him over a year ago about the whole controversy of the writer's room and his falling out with TBS and then him falling out with Oprah. I'm probably going to put that video either as the thumbnail bumper of the channel or put in the community tab, because that video I did on an article from over a year ago, I feel like it's very relevant now because everyone's talking about it. Everyone's digging. It's like, yeah, the Screenwriters Guild or whatever, and not wanting to pay people twice over and whatnot. I think the most interesting part of the recent Tyler Perry interviews is the fact that he brought up how he used to have a writer's room, but it didn't work out because the people didn't feel his voice was being projected through his show and his characters because there were other people writing it. But I really do think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to experiment with a writer's room now, just in terms of seeing how Tyler Perry's voice would be projected in terms of him being like the showrunner and whatnot. Because once again, he has been saying, some people who haven't been bashing Tyler Perry, he's been saying like, people who haven't been bashing him have just been concerned about, hey, are you getting enough rest? Are you not overworking yourself? And he says he's just fine, which, first of all, I'm glad to hear that. But at the same time, it's like, some people have been voicing some reasonable, like, hey, you talk about opportunities, but it's like in almost every arena other than the writer's room, which is non-existent, that's the only place you don't allow other people to be. And he has said there are other shows and whatnot at Tyler Perry Studios that will have the opportunity for writers to, get involved in. But you have to look at it from this perspective. When The Oval and Sisters first dropped, this was before he publicly, said work ethic, no writer's room. And those shows really weren't received too well during their first couple episodes. Sure, the ratings were there, but you have to think about how much push was behind those shows before they even came out. You had most of, if not all, the cast at his star dedication on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They were present at the gala and then the Sunday morning worship service. And then every time he was on a platform talking about the gala, he promoted those shows. But then come episode 2 or 3, those shows kind of fell off because of the fact that they didn't have that push. Those first episodes really didn't draw in the people in terms of, they tuned in, but they weren't going to watch continuously. Most of them were under the, okay, I thought this would hold me over until the haves and the have-nots came on, but I'm kind of gravitating towards something else. Also, remember, the Oval's mid-season finale is tonight. I will be tuning in. No telling on when the show is going to be returning. I do know that Ruthless, the branch off series of the Oval, will be coming to BET Plus in March. And Sisters, as far as I know, will be running through February. I know it's going to be on next week and the week after next. Kind of going to fade out of that show just because the numbers aren't there, people. I do the videos and I barely have any sister videos that crack 1,000 views. So I'm probably just going to lean back from that show unless there's a high demand for it. But it is what it is. Pretty sure even if I don't watch the next 3 episodes, I can get caught up in no time. And I love the cast, but it's just like in terms of the channel and where it's going, the show really isn't pulling in the numbers like I want it to. Kind of like The Pains, where I would watch that show, but it just got unbearable to watch. With Sisters, it's just that nobody's really watching the show, at least on the channel anyway, in terms of not a lot of people on this channel are interested in sister videos. So that show is going to be phased out. The Oval now is holding steady now. Plus the show, despite its flaws, and trust me, there are flaws, it does have somewhat of an engaging story as well as the characters. So for any Sisters fans, let me know if you want me to still do videos here and there. But I think it's for the best in terms of, me working, because I just feel so pressed every week with 3 freaking shows to review. And the numbers really aren't reflecting what I'm doing. Plus the haves and the have-nots just blows everything out of the water. And as last year proved, Greenleaf and If Loving You Was Wrong destroy numbers as well. It's like, it's not even a contest. But I think that, and I hope this video doesn't come across as me rambling, but it's just me giving my raw thoughts. I do have some notes in front of me, but I just wanted to talk about the fact that I don't know if I even have the right to say if he's been exploiting black women, because you have to think of it from the perspective of a consumer like myself. Well, you see a lot of rappers and whatnot who glorify objectifying women, and they have mansions and cars and whatnot. So I don't really see I guess you could say it's almost like, I don't know if I can pick the lesser of 2 evils here, if you will, because it's like, half naked women in your videos and, sex and drugs and whatnot. And then in real life, some of these people have multiple baby mamas and stuff like that. Don't pay child support. Some of them do. But then Tyler Perry, makes these films. So, and that's all I'm saying. I guess it's like, keep the same energy. If you're going to bash Tyler Perry for objectifying black women and whatnot, then why not all these rappers and whatnot who do that in their videos. So, I mean, once again, I'm not an employee of Tyler Perry, so don't think that I'm just, cooning and buffooning, because I've never been to Tyler Perry Studios. I've never been invited. I do believe they will be doing tours this year to the public. So if my financial situation is right, let me put it this way. I would love to either A, be invited, or B, if my financial situation is good enough, I would like to travel down there just to tour the facility. Either or works for me. But, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But at the same time, I'm a fan of the man's work. It's almost like Kevin Hart. It's like, not a big fan of his work in terms of his more recent comedy specials and whatnot, but the man's work ethic, I cannot question that, because, it's very, very impressive. But with Tyler Perry, it's like, when you pretty much don't always get a helping hand, especially when you need it coming up. When you finally make it to the top, it's like, well, I climbed up here, aside from the grace of God, I climbed up here by myself. So why should I take advice from the people below me, so to speak? I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to do that, but I've had people who have messaged me over the last couple of days with comments and remarks from people who have either worked for Tyler Perry, who have met Tyler Perry. Some not so nice things in regards to how he treats people and things like that. I honestly don't want to talk about that too much because, well, it's almost like I do want to meet him just, to say, hey, you've really changed my life with the haves and the have-nots, because without that show, I wouldn't be able to do what I do here on YouTube and, connected with so many different people and opportunities I never would have had just staying in my call center job. But they always say never meet your heroes. But I mean, if I could do nothing more than just have 30 seconds to thank him, that would be enough for me. Shake his hand and be on my way. But I don't want to just, take the and trust me, I've gotten some pretty juicy stuff, but that's not why I made this channel. My channel is to talk about these shows, give my 2 cents on it, and move on to the next video. But I don't want to be one of these mini YouTubers who just bash someone. And trust and believe, I've seen channels where their subscriber count is nothing compared to this one's, but their Tyler Perry videos have been blowing up because it's a hot topic. But I've never wanted this platform to be that, if that makes any sense. Like, I get it in the comments. I know some people are going to be like, man, Jeremy, this is disappointing. This video is almost 20 minutes long so far, and all you've done is like dance around the question. And nah, I've answered in the way that I feel best suits my position. Like, the man has look, I'm not the biggest Oprah Winfrey fan in regards to her Neverland documentary on Michael Jackson. There is a hot topic now that she's backed out of the Russell Simmons doc that she was going to do. And you talk about Me Too, but then your friends like the Harvey Weinsteins and whatnot, you don't really touch base on them at all. So it's like, I kind of side eye Oprah, but at the same time, I'm not going to act like she hasn't done things for other people to help them out, from schools in Africa to, financial donations here and there. But at the same time, just because you admire someone, you consider them a hero in some aspects, that doesn't mean you have to blindly pledge your allegiance to them. So same thing with Tyler Perry. I admire the man, trust and believe. I'm not going to sit up here and act like if it wasn't for Tyler Perry creating great content, I wouldn't be able to do what I do here. And that's completely the truth. Like, if he hadn't created those shows, I wouldn't be able to talk about them and do what I do for a living. But when I talk about these shows, I don't get up here and say, oh, this episode's 10 out of 10. This episode's 10 out of 10. I've had debates with some fans about the scores I give episodes, and some things I love, some things I dislike. Like last night's episode, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Honestly, I think that was a bit too high of a score because this is season 7, episode 3, and these episodes have been very lackluster. I've had some people say, man, this episode's like a 9 out of 10. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, nah, man, I don't get it. But that's the point of the channel. We can express our opinions in a respective way when it comes to reviewing these things and having conversations. That's the whole point of the channel, to build a community of fans so we can talk, have discussions, and have a good time. But I mean, from a, I guess you could say, consumer perspective, it would be nice to kind of switch things up, if you will, in terms of the different stories you tell Tyler Perry, or what goes on in the television shows. For me, being someone that's been labeled as like a critic or reviewer or whatever you want to call it. Um, it is a common trope in the shows that some of these characters who are the villains or evil truly seem irredeemable for the most part. Like Veronica, Victoria at least seems to have, at least we know her backstory. That doesn't excuse her behavior, but just knowing how she was the dark or black sheep of her family, that kind of thing, and how that translated into the raising of Jason and Gail. But at the same time, you have Veronica, who's like beyond redemption, so to speak. Like, even if you go back to like the earlier Tyler Perry movies, and I'm not saying this isn't completely gone from Tyler Perry movies now, but at least back in the day, regardless as to how you felt about the films, you knew there was a good message amongst the chaos. I mean, sometimes that's the thing about Tyler Perry movies, where maybe the first two acts are really slow, but then during the last 20-25 minutes, that's when things pick up, and then next thing you know, the movie's over and it's like, wait, that's it. But at least you walked away knowing like this was about family, this was about abusive relationships, redemption, God, faith, and friends and whatnot. Nowadays it's almost kind of weird, like even A Fall from Grace, the lesson of be careful who you trust and who you fall in love with. But I guess you could say that if you look at the cosmetic inconsistencies, like the wigs and the extras, eating and drinking air, the scripts that were visible, yeah, I can understand people bringing that up. I will agree that it is kind of inexcusable when you have this grand studio, you have all these outlets, whether it be the Viacoms and the Netflix and everything like that. So to do everything yourself, and then these imperfections being spotted by, I don't even want to say eagle-eyed viewers, just everyday people watching, like, wait, why is that guy eating a fork with no food? Or why is the script visible in front of this character? Or, the wigs are inconsistent and everything. And why is there a file cabinet in the courtroom? There's so many things like that. And guys, these are from just people who have probably never watched Tyler Perry stuff in a while. They probably just watched it because it was a big deal. It was being rotated and promoted heavily. So why not give it a shot? Came on a Friday, probably watched it over the weekend, and yeah, people went in on it. And I do think that's the biggest thing. So when you post something about like not having a writer's room and whatnot, which to some could be inspiring, to others might seem boastful, but then to other people is like, now that explains why the work is so bad. So when you put out a movie after promoting the fact that you do everything yourself, and there are visible mistakes and whatnot, that is going to be a bad reflection. So, I mean, it's almost like, and I made this comparison in the video about him responding to not having a writer's room. It's almost like a graduate or doctoral student handing in a paper, and it's only written at like the 4th grade level. That's kind of inexcusable, So I do think that Tyler Perry might want to look into having consultants and whatnot, but like I said before, who am I to judge? Will he even listen to, I mean, it's one thing to like bash and go online and whatnot, because that's the thing about social media, everyone has a voice. But maybe, if I don't know how well he takes constructive criticism or even suggestions, but there are a lot of popular people in music and whatnot who, well, yeah, they are millionaires, billionaires, but at the same time, they listen to the people, their consumers. Sometimes they take their advice, other times they don't. And sometimes it's like, if they hear a large amount of their community saying something or shouting something, they probably know, like, maybe I should take into consideration, maybe this advertisement deal wasn't good, or maybe I should create a new model of my product to appeal to more people. And when they do that, they end up grossing more income, but more importantly, they're giving the people what they want. But the argument could be made from Tyler Perry that regardless of what he puts out, bad or not, it still does numbers. Yeah, even though the ratings might be awful, it might not completely crush it at the box office, people are still going to watch his stuff. So, I mean, from his perspective, it's like, I've been doing everything myself so far. The numbers are there. I built this studio. How many other people have a studio like this? So why should I do what other people are telling me I should do when they don't have, a writer's room of their own, or they don't have their own studio? when you look at it from that perspective, it might seem like arrogance, and it kind of is. But I guess you could say it's not that I, as a personal fan, don't want to support Tyler Perry and what he does. That's not it at all. But I just want him to do better because I know he can do better because I've seen him do better. And that's why I got into this show to begin with, the haves and have-nots. From the first episode, I was hooked. Things kept getting better and better and better. But then around like season 3, season 4, that's when it got really shaky. It kind of picked up again around the season 5 and season 6. But now we're kind of at a point where, okay, this show is in its, 7th year coming up? Yeah, we're almost at the 7th year. Some characters are still stuck in their old ways. We're recycling storylines and things like that. So in that sense, that's inexcusable because it's just, again, I don't want to cancel Tyler Perry. I don't want to say he's exploiting people. I'm just saying that I know that Tyler Perry can do better than what he's putting out now. If I were to, I guess you could say, call out Tyler Perry for anything, that would be it. Just because I know this guy is capable. Because back when he was doing nothing more than the plays and maybe a movie every now and then, to the early days of House of Pain, which I'm going to assume, as he said, 10 years ago, that's when he had a writer's room. Maybe it was during the House of Pain, Meet the Brown days. That's where he had a writer's room. Why not try it out again? I mean, it's not like you don't have the resources to do so. And I'm not saying that I want you to fail, but try it out on one of these shows you're putting out. Like Sisters is in its first season. Why not put a few black women in the writer or, once again, the consultant chair? Have someone look over these scripts to make sure things line up, because we shouldn't see major inconsistencies in the story and or the character personalities and reactions within the same episode. That's a problem. So all I can say is, like I said at the beginning, if you're going to condemn Tyler Perry for quote unquote exploiting black women to build his empire, what about all these musical artists who do the same to black women? What about all these movies that other directors and whatnot do to black women? I mean, that's all I got to say. This video way longer than I expected to be. I don't really think I'm going to bring this subject up again because I've spoken my piece. I've done a couple videos about the writer's room. I might do a live stream talking about the writer's room thing. Kind of like a last hurrah. That way I can get live comments and we could talk, because the live stream I did a couple of days ago, pray the Wi-Fi doesn't cut off this time, about A Fall from Grace went over pretty well. And like I said, when I bring this subject up, I don't just bash Tyler Perry nonstop. It's just like I talk about what I've seen and heard other people say. I give my 2 cents and that's it. So there we go. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. In the top comment, I'll pin it to the top. I'll put in a couple of articles and a couple of videos that talk about Tyler Perry, and at least the ones I felt gave the strongest message, whether or not I agree with them. So yeah, you know the drill. Subscribe, check me out. Social media links in the description below, and I'll talk to you soon.